What is going on, everybody? I promise the theme song will be back next week. We need the Hickory Dickory Dock to get us going. But I'm just consumed with other things right now. But it'll be back next week. But welcome to Sunday Night CrossFit Talk. As Kenneth DeLapp says, the original Sunday Night CrossFit Talk. And we're going to get into a lot of stuff tonight. Can't wait to talk to you about that. But haven't seen you guys in a week. Has your week gone okay?
Yeah. Getting back into the swing of things. How about you, Carolyne?
Yeah, just back teaching, getting ready for the provincial math test for my grade 9s. That's this Thursday and Friday, so a little stressed with that because we have high standards at our school, so got to keep meeting those.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I've been sending these things out.
I saw that.
Another batch is ready to go tomorrow. So we're up about 50 envelopes have gone out this week from all over the world, or to all over the world, which has been really exciting. So super stoked about that. But if you want these, hop into my DMs, send me your address, and they're yours for free. FREEE.
So I've had some requests for flags. So you might have to consider getting some of those printed.
Ooh.
Flags. Okay. Yeah. I'll look into that. I will talk off air and do that. We're still supposed to have shirts soon. So I'm trying to figure that out too. But with that, the other thing I've got going on before we meet again next week, I'm going to go to the U.S. Olympic trials in swimming this coming weekend.
Is that the one that's on the football field that they're transforming that I saw online?
It is.
Wow.
In Indianapolis. They converted the Colts football stadium into 3 swimming pools.
That's insane.
It is.
Where do they drain it all after? Like,
I'm assuming a lot of tubing or hoses, but they did a time lapse on Twitter that you can go see them build the pools.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
It's insane. It's because they build it and then they build a deck up at the top of it, so it's all like elevated. But there's the competition pool, a cool down pool, and a warm up pool, all on the football field.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So my mom is the biggest Olympic nut in the world, and for her birthday and Mother's Day, that was her gift to take her to the U.S. Olympic trials. And she's super stoked. So we're going over next Saturday for the prelims in the morning and the finals in the evening, and then back on Sunday.
That's awesome.
And what's cool is Julie and I just watched The Boys in the Boat tonight. Have you seen that movie? So it's George Clooney directed it. It's a true story of a crew team from Washington. It's on Prime. If you have Prime, it's on there for free. Check it out. It's well worth the watch.
Okay. I've seen it. I haven't watched it.
It's the night, and it takes place into the 1936 Olympics.
Okay.
So it's really good. But with that, we'll get back to CrossFit talk. Wrapping up semifinals. It's been a week. We've had time to breathe. Some of us have had time to grieve. What are our final thoughts about what kind of went on those 3 weeks of semifinals?
For the most part, I think they were exciting. There was, close races and a lot of heat. That was fun. I mean, that's fun and exciting. You want stories like that. I didn't go back and watch really like much of any coverage, a little bit of Oceania's coverage, and a little bit of West, but after being at East and seeing some of West online, I feel like those stories weren't, and maybe it wasn't as closely contested in the heats as it was at East. But I didn't feel like that played out as well in West. And it could just be the, camera work. We all have frustrations with that.
Yeah, I think enough, as much was on the line there. Maybe the story just wasn't told as well. Or when you're there live, you tell the story, right? You watch what you want to watch, not what they're showing you. So you can kind of see the whole floor and go to whatever. And we say that every year, like it's so much better live. Overall, like that last event was really cool. Like I thought that was a really good ending to the workout, only because so much was on the line and decisions had to be made, whether you are aggressive at the end or conservative at the end, or however you're going to handle that. And some handled it way better than others. And it cost people trips to the games.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of drama for sure on the final event. I think overall, the semifinals went down pretty smoothly, like on all of the regions. A lot of vets made it back to the games, and I think there's some excitement around some of the new faces that we're going to be seeing in Texas. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they end up doing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the rookie class later in the show, but 20 rookies this year.
I mean, there was a lot of open spots, so somewhat to be expected, but it is crazy.
8 men, 12 women rookies this year going to the games. So that's crazy. The other thing, a couple things I have in my notes, and we'll get into Data Wad's analysis a little bit, is Barbell Spin did a blind leaderboard where they talked about the most exciting thing from the weekend, and everybody went to Colton's touch and go.
Not Joe Piero's.
What's that?
Not Joe Piero's.
No, exactly. So when they said that, like, it has to be Colton, Colton wasn't the only one that went touch and go.
Right.
Hannah, or is it Hannah or the one girl from
Julia Hannaford?
Yeah, that's it. She did it as well.
Mm-hmm.
He did it. I think it was more so like the moment because it was a tight race.
Yeah.
Versus the actual touch and go.
Yeah.
Because it was, I think we did see it, 3 or 4 times over the 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Some people didn't need to do it. I bet you Kerstetter could have done it if she really wanted to. That's still the most impressive performance.
That was my vote.
Yeah.
What Olivia did to that snatch ladder was freakish and should go down as like one of the most impressive things ever done at a regional or semifinal.
Did you see the training think tank video? They had one of their coaches do like the women's ladder and tried to beat Kerstetter's time. I think that he only beat it by like 3 or 4 seconds or something like that. Very, very close. And he had to go touch and go in the last bar. And the transitions were even tighter than what Olivia had to do, just to show how dominant her performance was.
That's crazy.
She and I think they brought this up on the spin, is that she had to practice changing weights. Like she had to do that so fast to be able to get that time. And then I talked to Hattie on Friday night, and she said when they got word of what her time was, like they all were like, well, we're all fighting for second. Like they were all just like, that's out of reach. So, and that's just craziness. But I think the lunges were a story. I think what the men's competition getting shaken up with Ricky winning his first semifinal, Jay Crouch not finishing top 2, and Bailey Martin kind of ruining Jay's party. I think that was pretty crazy down there.
Similarly, Dallin did that to Roman in the East.
True.
And
true,
kind of,
true.
A lot of people thought probably, Jeff and Roman 1 and 2 in whatever order. And I mean, I'm sure some people expected maybe Dallin or Hopper to be in the mix, obviously, but at the end for Dallin to take the spot, similar than Oceana with the 3 boys.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna admit something here. I was putting up our document that we share for notes, and I saw Carolyne typing and deleting and typing and deleting, and then she ended up deleting, but I liked it too much that I put it back in. and that is, I phrased it a little bit different, and that is, are Austin Hatfield and Jack Rosema enough to offset the feeling that this was slanted to the big boys?
I would say no for me.
You know my thought on this. We talked about this the other day. I just feel like the sport gradually over the last few years, like if you look at where the women were, where the men were overall in terms of height and weight, the sport is shifting towards taller men, taller females, heavier as we're going more and more machines and power output, and the weights are heavier. I think that over the weekend, I don't think on any of the workouts, gymnastics was really a limiting factor for most athletes. And number one, it was the runner at your engine. Number two, I would argue is, again, your engine. You could say toes to bars maybe, but I think overall all three kind of played a good factor. That was a well-balanced event. But for most people, it's just their breathing. Number three, same thing, like the echo bike played a bigger factor. And I think the females being on the echo bike longer, because the 10 cals, you're able to recover for the legless rope climbs. Same with it's enough time with the box jump overs that the legless was less of a factor. I think that for that one, the rowing, we talked about that last week, being a big factor there. Unless you had really, really fast handstand walk as a shorter person, you could stay in the mix more, but it was more of a power output rowing capacity.
Let me get this right. Was that a rowing workout?
Yeah. Then you have the snatch with the weight. And again, those lunges playing a big factor with, if you can get a head start on the echo bike, it did play a role. Because most people were 1 or 2 sets on the ring muscle ups, but you could gain some stuff. So I just think the sport in general, it used to be rare to see guys over 200 pounds, 6 foot tall, and now you're seeing that quite a bit. And even I think the height of the females and the weight of the females is shifting higher towards the 155 to maybe 160 pounds now, like on an average scale, maybe even heavier than that, 155 to 165 maybe on average. And it used to be closer to 145. And I think the taller you are, the better you will also be on machines in general.
Yep.
Yeah, if you look at Tia, Laura, Gabby, Alex, they are all taller athletes.
I mean, I think Tia still is the
on the
older model mold.
Yeah, she's more an exception
right
to the rule. She's just so good overall.
Yeah, she just stands tall in your head because she's just so dominant. Yeah, I guess. So that was one question I had. And then this got posted this weekend. And I don't know how to feel about it, so that's why I'm posing it to you guys. Is CrossFit made a post saying, is Paige Semenza the most underrated athlete?
I mean, I don't think she gets a whole lot of coverage.
Yeah. I think if you're into the sport like we are, she's never forgotten when we talk about the sport. But on the whole, I do see that. But I think it's everybody 6th and below.
I agree.
Because and CrossFit made it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone that's not in that top tier, they don't really talk about, they don't really film during events. And she's just so consistent. Year after year, no matter the programming, she's always relevant and solid. And she seems to be getting better the last couple of years as she's kind of maybe getting older, maybe being smarter with her body too, and just using that experience for her.
Andrew Sten says most people don't know who 90% of the athletes are. Larry Young says, I personally think not having a max or high level gymnastics before semifinals hurt people like Colton and Olivia, because everyone who made it were really fit cardio wise.
They had to be strong too, though. I think it was still a good balance. Like every event you had to be strong, but you had to have some level of gymnastics capacity. You had to be able to run, but you still had to be able to lift a certain amount of weight. Like it was still balanced, but I just think it moves a little bit more towards certain stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But Paige is never underrated in our book. And it was funny. I actually ended up texting Patrick and Brian last night because I was listening to their semifinal recap, and they said nobody interviewed Paige before semifinals. And I was like, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
And then they apologized and said that they would make a correction. I said, I don't need all that. I just was giving you a hard time. But yeah, we did interview Paige.
But she's not someone that posts like every single day like some of the other people. She's more like, to herself, training and under the radar, really. And that's just who she is. Like she's not flashy. She's not trying to be someone that she's, not like just to get the followers and stuff like that. Like you see a lot of athletes just posting stuff, and sometimes you're like, oh, well, okay.
This isn't in the notes, but you brought that up. Have you noticed that Tudor is posting way more than he ever has? And it's all running.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen more posts lately. I guess I didn't necessarily notice about the running. But that's good. He's got to embrace it. I mean, all of his counterparts are all over.
Yeah. Damien says, like, nobody knew about Kenya. That is so true. Okay, Larry, I'm trying to figure this out. If Big Braun was the Colton, Colton moves up and the new guy that beat him openly says he isn't strong.
I'm confused.
Who's the new guy that beat him in the West?
Or
Chris
Big
Ibarra?
Braun.
Ibarra? That was the only rookie in the West, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If Big Ron was there.
Colton moves up.
Yeah,
And the new guy that beat him.
We'll go to Andrew's 10. And that fault falls on CrossFit for not having a media department who highlights athletes. Unfortunately, not enough people watch this channel to see the other athletes covered.
Yep,
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're growing.
You gotta like and subscribe. You gotta keep telling the people, Scott, like and subscribe.
That's why I brought you on here, just to tell me. Just tell the people, like and subscribe.
If you haven't already, like and subscribe.
Larry, we know. You only get so many characters in this new age world, and it's hard to condense them down into the comment section.
It's like Twitter.
So this last thing I want to talk about is Data Wad put together, because I think really probably the major story of semifinals was the allocation of spots.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of us don't believe that is done in an equitable way. So she put together a combined leaderboard. Now let's say up front, we know that it probably wouldn't have broke down this way if they were all competing head to head, because you don't have the races, right? You may have pushed harder here or not here, depending on who you were up against. But in the men's side, it doesn't shake up too much. And she actually did it with the run and without the run, because the runs were different from place to place.
Yeah.
This first one, is it only comparing athletes that qualified, or is this with everyone in the field? Because I think she did 2 of them.
I think this is all of them.
Yeah, I thought it was all of them.
Yeah, this one is the most recent one. And so their original rank is over here. Here's the combined rank. And you see that like Europe, Oceania, North America East are getting people in. And then Guy is kind of the outlier with South America.
Which is great to see him up there.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
What a great bounce back year for him so far.
And it doesn't change with or without the run.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, we can get into that later. But and so we keep going. And then South America actually has 2 more representatives in the top 20.
Well, I would use the without the run category.
Okay.
Yes.
To be fair. So but still qualifying spot. Top 40.
Yeah.
And then we go here. Nobody is out at this point on these. Still pretty much North America, Europe, and Oceania. And then here, we would have, with the run, Oldest would have been in. Yona Koski would have been in. Without the run, Yona would have been in. Oldest out. Without the run, Brandon Luckett just makes it in.
See,
Without the run,
Oldest, we know he's a great runner. So taking out the run is a huge, he would do well in any field. So it's hard to say that he would bump out to 52 because now you're just going to 5 events. But I get what you're saying.
I think this is the interesting part. These 3 people from North America East, Taylor Self, Dre Strom, and Tyler Christoffel, would have been in with the run. Taylor and Dre would have been in without the run.
Yep.
So North America East would have had 15. It's hard. The only other thing that's hard is comparing weeks 1 when they only had, a certain amount of time to prepare versus a week 3 like North America East, which then can see the results. And obviously the scores typically get better as you go through the week. So there's also that factor that's hard to compare between semifinals. But it's still a good indicator that we could have more spots. And
just to confirm, this is with all 267 men and 271 women. So then we go to the women. And what I find fascinating is, even though they were the first week, Laura and Gabby are second and third.
Mm-hmm.
But not surprising. You look at the top 3, you're like, yep, that could be, the podium at the games. Really, you can look down further than that, and that order wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah. I think what was surprising to me is nobody from the West on the first page. Because we thought it was top heavy, but we didn't even get this in the combined ratings. Europe is a dead even split with North America East. Now, without the run, Linda Kiesman falls out. And Shelby Neal pops in. So that changes up a little bit. But it's not until we get to 17th with the run, or around that without the run, 13th, is Abby Domit.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because the West run is by far the longest, and they have the stairs and everything. So that one is really hard to compare because their original scores would be much slower.
And when we go to the third page, we finally see Oceania. And a couple more from the West, Gazan and Kenyo. Some more from Emily Lundberg jumps way up and in. She was out.
She was the first person out for Europe, 11th.
Annika Greer, look at the difference it makes combined.
Yeah.
That's not surprising, though.
Amanda Barnhart gets in. Either way.
I think we have 17 or something from the East, which is crazy.
And it's not until the last page do we get some Asia, which we didn't get any on the men. None from Asia, none from Africa on the men's side. But Sahir Kaya and Sheng Young Choi are good athletes.
They're great athletes. Yeah, they're legit. They're great.
But Jordan Sheffs would make it combined. Ashley Wozni, Fee Sagafi, Elizabeth Weishart. That's insane to me.
A lot of East.
Mm-hmm.
So no Dwan Young, no Kenneth, no Dwan Young. So I think this does point out that there's some fallacy with the allocations of spots. Do you think there's an immediate solution? Do we want to listen to the Castro piece?
You could.
Yeah, yeah, I've got comments on this.
Did you listen to it?
Yeah.
So I have it started at the 3:57 mark of Patrick Clark's interview with Dave Castro backstage at the Syndicate Crown. This was on Be Friendly Fitness. I want to give credit to them for this. But here it is. And we'll go ahead and play that.
One last question. The future of the semifinals. Is that stage still, obviously you mentioned something about tweaking.
You can put it full screen.
Every year was tweaking something, improving it. Is the semifinals something that you would like to keep around? And if so, if not, what would you like to see in place of semifinals?
I have ideas. We have big ideas on how it can evolve to a different model. Are we ready for that now? Potentially not. Maybe. I think this model here, there's an evolution of it that's necessary if we were to preserve it. If we were to stay with the semifinal and do semifinals again, I think we're operating a model that is at the 60-yard line and not at the 99-yard line with this format. And again, it's some of the stuff I mentioned in the beginning. Like, I don't think 2 events in North America is the right expression of this, but it's where we kind of are. It's how we've evolved to this from, being on our heels often in the last few years and trying to climb out of that. So there's also radical expressions of what next year looks like that are potential areas we might take this that look nothing like this. So the actual decision yet has not been, it's not final, but there could be an expression where it's like this with some tweaks, or where it's a little different or a lot different.
Yeah. Cool. That's all I got.
All right.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
So thank you to Be Friendly Fitness for that video. And nice job, Patrick, getting that interview backstage at Syndicate Crown. Original thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts. So, but I want to hear yours first.
So a little bit earlier in that video, and I'm wondering at what point of Syndicate Crown this was done.
So he was only there Saturday.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't get to see all the heats, all the drama, he comments in there that there's too many people qualifying, and kind of like the games, we've had this discussion, like the 4th heat doesn't matter and people don't want to watch it. And while I'll say that's true at almost every single region, that was not the case for North America East at all. Every heat was relevant. There was so I get what he's saying. And if you could have only had 10, 12 representatives from West, and if you had 5 regions still in the US and you only took 20, and then East was actually split up properly, yeah, it would probably be more exciting.
Carolyne?
he just was like smirking the whole time. Like the whole thing's gonna flip around next year or the following year. Like he obviously knows what's going on, but he can't say. It just felt like he's talking like something big's gonna happen, and they're talking about it. And obviously he doesn't like the format right now. He went to the West. He probably saw the same thing. Like almost the whole final heat qualifies, and doesn't quite like that, but. It's just hard because, I mean, a lot of people are living in similar regions. Like back then, you didn't have training camps that kind of influenced the regions as much as they would now. So it would just be very hard to do regionals, I guess, because there are so many people within the same area. So if you start going 5 per, like, different parts of the East, like, it's just crazy. I don't know. I also feel like they don't want to take responsibility for the semifinals. So doing like sanctionals again, maybe under a like umbrella of CrossFit that's a little bit more controlled from before, might be something that they're looking into, where you just have different competitions all around the world where 2 or 3 qualify at each. I could see something like that coming back around. Like a hybrid model of the sanctional season with regionals-ish. I don't know. That's my thought.
So here, I have a couple thoughts. One, I don't think it's good business to admit failure in the middle of the stage you're talking about. I think it's better to say, we can always improve. We'll always look at this at the end of the season. And then we'll go from there, because now everybody's talking about what's it going to be instead of who these athletes are that are going to the CrossFit Games. We've now removed the spotlight from all the phenomenal athletes that have earned a great accomplishment of making the games and turned it back on the failures of CrossFit, because you, the head of all this, are saying we're failing at this stage and we need to make a change, while it's going on 30 feet from where you're saying it.
Yes, but I think a lot of people are saying it's failing. Like there's a lot of people not very happy with the allocation of spots.
I get all that. It's just bad timing. Like the spotlight should be on the athletes. If people want to talk about that, that's great. But you, the head of this company, should not be the one leading the charge.
What is he going to do? Praise the Africa and
I didn't say praise
Asia
anything.
athletes?
You don't have to do the polar opposite to not do the one.
Sure.
Right? And there's a time where this discussion needs to be had. And they can talk internally and get this together behind closed doors right now and announce it after the celebration. Or even like a month before the games that next season's going to be different. But I want to move on from that and say the problem is that there is no easy solution too. So CrossFit's in a very big bind, because you can add more regionals or semifinals to the United States so that it's spread out. The drama is always going to be at the cut line at semifinals, whether you're allocating 5 to the games, 10 to the games, or 20 to the games. It's always going to be at the cut line, not at who's winning.
Agree.
So that's inherent with this stage of the game. The next thing is you can move them all over the country, but it's not evenly distributed geographically in the United States where all the talent is. There's so many camps in the East that the East is just loaded with talent. And if you have, like they did a couple years ago, 4 of them in North America and distribute them evenly, you've taken away the regional aspect again, because you're moving people away from where they live. My biggest fear is they're going to go online. And if they go online, it's going to break my heart. It's going to destroy the coolest thing in CrossFit. And we've been pounding the desk that you need to go to semifinals because it is the coolest time to watch this sport. And I had listeners come up to me at the Syndicate Ground saying, thank you for telling me that, this was the most fun I've ever had in a CrossFit competition. And we have decided we're going to do this instead of the games. CrossFit should market this phase better than they do.
I don't think they want to go online. I don't think they want to deal with all of the video stuff and the responsibility there.
I don't think they want, but how are they going to economically do anything else?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, without putting it on other people.
Yeah, the thing with the sanctionals and stuff, it's like it just becomes who has the most money, who has the most time off to go travel to all these places. Because I know, like, for me, having a full-time job, like I can't go overseas and just take a week of vacation, 2 weeks of vacation to go do that. Well, someone could go and do every single one of them. Some sort of point system, maybe a new ranking system. But then again, we're just changing the ranking systems left and right, and we haven't kept anything consistent. It's just hard to know because things just are always changing. Who knows?
I hope to God they don't go online. It's just a fear I have, because that seems to be the answer for everybody else but the elites. And they're crying they don't have money. And so it's the cheapest way to do things.
Yeah, in a way, I think done correctly, it could be the right move. But it'll never be done correctly, so I hate it. But I think it could be done well, and I think it could get the right people there. It wouldn't come down to it would come down to you move as well as you think you need to move, and we're gonna make your video public, and we're gonna figure it out. Like, did you move well? It's not going to be a judge's call ruining someone's chance on the floor. We would eliminate that kind of stuff, but it'll never be done correctly. So it's a moot point.
If you look at every avenue possible that I can think of, there's something wrong with that thought process. You're like spreading out to 4 again, but you still have to spread out the talent. So then you lose the regional aspect that way. I'm almost on the bandwagon of keep it as it is, allocate better, and really embrace this and market it better.
Would you do the 1 spot per region minimum and then allocate, or would you just put for right now Africa with another region and it's just like travel? Combine Africa with.
I've said all along that the way to get global expansion is not the Olympic model. CrossFit is not big enough to go to the Olympic model yet. And that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. I think this is like the last chance qualifier is a good model. And that's how, and those people need to get good enough to show up there and earn a spot that way.
At the end of the day, I would rather have what we have today than some bastardization of what it could be that's going to fall short anyway. I would rather stick with the same thing, market it better, refine it better so that it's not as bad, and hone that in than to take another shot at something wild in the dark that is going to take 2 years to figure out, and then they'll scrap that and go to something else.
The thing is like a lot of these regions like Asia, South America, the ones that got more spots this year, they're probably getting more spots next year because they have new athletes that are going to make it to the games that have just gone points at the games for their region. And then if you add any previous, people, you're going to get 4 people from Asia next year. You're going to get 4 people from South America. And slowly, as people are accumulating more points, it's just going to keep taking out from Europe, North America, Northwest, and the bigger, I guess.
And at the end of the day, you watch sports because someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. And it sucks to be the athlete that loses and loses out, but that's why you watch. You watch for that drama. And if we open it up too wide, because I'm just looking at the chat too. I think 40 is plenty. I don't think that South America needed 3 women. I don't think Asia needed 3 men. Those are obvious places where the allocation was wrong.
Yep.
And it's gonna be 4 next year. I'm telling you,
If
they're
they use the
they're
same
gonna get
model.
more points. It's gonna be
If they
4
use
next
the
year.
same
We're
model.
everyone is gonna go down on
I don't
the
know.
major ones.
I can't see them looking at that and not, especially if those people are all in the bottom 30.
But that's the way the system's created. This is how South America or Asia got 3 spots this year. Was Choi came back, so people got points last year for being at the games, and then she comes back and they got points. Now you have someone else, Duan Jung, will get points, new points for Asia, and then you start adding more. Like it's
Right. One of the things they need to hone is that model. That
like
model needs scrapped, and then
the more that athletes are different in regions, like the more rookies in a region, the more they're gaining points for the region. The more that the region stays with the vets, the harder it is for the region to keep getting points because everyone else is not getting extra points for the region. So North America East doesn't have many rookies. North America West doesn't have many rookies. That's bad. That's bad for the point system. That's how it's made. Like Europe getting rookies in this year is actually good for them. They got more rookies this year, like 4 something on one side. That's actually going to help their point system. Because people in the year prior had their games points. New people are getting games points, and now they're getting more people within the top 100. If we keep getting only the vets in from the North America, it's actually worse for us. We're gonna keep losing spots.
I know you're right. And I know that everything you're saying is absolutely correct. I think they need to scrap that model for allocation of spots and use more common sense. I know that is really hard to do, but common sense there, when we do a combined leaderboard and there's no man from Asia close to the top 40 and they get 2 or 3 spots too, that's ridiculous. I mean, the evidence is looking at the scores of these people and do they have the capacity and the ability to compete? Because what you're doing by this allocation is watering down the final product at the games. And then heat 1 doesn't matter because heat 1 is never going to be a factor in the rest of the scores.
Right.
Because they're never going to, like in the East, there were top 5 people from heat 1 in almost every workout through the final day because it's so deep and we lose that. It's better at that's what sucks. It's better at the semifinal than it is at the games because by the time you get to the games, the bottom 10 aren't going to compete. I shouldn't say bottom 10, bottom 7 aren't going to compete. So Seema says I need to clip what Carolyne just talked about. So look for that on a reel in the next day or 2. All right. We jumped all around these notes.
Sorry. That's my bad.
It actually made sense to go in that order. But I am really, me personally, I'm at the point of let's keep it the way it is and change the allocation model until we can figure this out and get better. Larry, I don't agree that every level was watered down. If you were in Knoxville, it was insane how fit some of these people were in heat 1, heat 2, heat 3. I wasn't at the West, so you don't get the same feel over a stream as you do live. But I mean, Carolyne knows she was battling these people. That was a super deep field.
Mm-hmm. There was almost, I think, 20 on the female side, almost 20 individual games athletes like that have individual games athletes experience in the last few years, which is crazy.
All right. So let's uplift and talk about the Uplift challenge. This week, our buddy Wad Zombie is sponsoring the Uplift challenge along with Hero Barbell for prizes. So make sure you go to Uplift's IG account and do everything you need to do the workout, video it, and make sure you submit that video by June 21st if you want to qualify for some of those prizes. In addition, they made a huge announcement this week that their actual Hero or Uplift, the beginnings of Uplift were every Labor Day weekend, they would do a workout to raise awareness of suicide prevention. And they've done that for the last couple years. This is, I believe, the third year that they're doing it. And they made the announcement that the person programming that workout this year will be Adrian Bosman.
Yep.
So this Labor Day, make sure that you gear yourself up. Unless you're competing at the Masters games, make sure you gear yourself up to jump in that WOD that Adrian will put together. And they usually do like 3, 4, or 5 versions of it to make sure there's a version for everybody to be able to do that. And it's a great cause. Make sure you jump on there and do that. But a cool get to get Adrian to program that for them. Andrew Sten said that should be the final workout for the Masters games. That'd be really cool if they did that. So the next thing is the Service Open. Service Open has already started. It goes through June 13th. It is being hosted by the Rogue website. So it's a joint effort between CrossFit and Rogue. It requires athletes to complete 3 workouts over the course of 1 week. The competition will include an RX and scaled community division, and service members in the following professions are encouraged to join. Affiliate owner, CrossFit trainer, medical professional, educator, military veteran, active duty military, law enforcement, firefighter, first responder, EMS responder. So, I'm a CrossFit trainer. Carolyne's an educator. You doing it, Carolyne?
Yeah, I did Randy and Kelly Brown already.
Randy's one of them?
Randy's one of them. Bend and snap.
My second favorite workout of all time.
Yeah, Randy's one of them. Kelly Brown was a good one. So the Kelly Brown one was 5 rounds for time, 440-meter row, 10 box jumps at 30 inches, 24 inches, so higher box jumps. 10 deadlifts, also heavier. I think for the females it's 185. I'm not sure what the weight is for the men. And then the real Kelly Brown one is actually 10 wall balls with 30 pounds and 20 pounds for the ladies to a 10 and 9 foot target. But to facilitate within the affiliates, they've adjusted to regular 20 pounds and 14 pounds. But they say that you can like choose the heavier one if you want. I chose the 14 pound.
Kenneth DeLapp says bend and snap like Legally Blonde.
Yes, that's exactly what I was referring to. But yeah, that was a sneaky workout. It was hard.
Houston, Texas, 94. Finished my Service Cup workouts yesterday. Was rough, but incredible.
I just don't know how I'm going to do the Dango one. The running one is going to be challenging because you have to film your distance and stuff. And it's like, I mean, if you're trying to win your division, which I am, like if I'm just doing it by myself, let's say at my school gym, like I'm gonna have to take the camera after my 400-meter run, show the assault runner, put my camera back, continue. I just think a running distance like that in an online format is hard to do. Like even if you go and run outside like a 200 out and back, Like, I hope people are actually running that distance. Like, it's just hard to do. I'll probably do it on the assault runner just so I can not have to film something outside, but
Larry Young
I
says
still have that one to do.
he can check all the boxes except the fitness one.
And there's community versions too. So if you're part of the of a service category there and you can't do the RX version, they have like a modified version for you to still participate in the service cup.
How glad are you that they brought this back?
I mean, I always just like did the hashtag in the open. In the past, like they just used the open, which I think that would actually make more sense because everyone signs up for the open. So you can actually see if you're the fittest teacher. But the problem is people use the hashtag for anything this year, as we saw some people that had jobs that they don't actually do. But I think the open still would work, but this is another like revenue for them. And I think it's just kind of, it makes it more special, I guess. More focused on the service members in the community versus in the open. I think the open is a better representation of the fittest firefighter, everything, because they actually sign up, but this is still like a special thing.
Do you have to prove you're a teacher?
It says that you may be asked to prove. So I filmed the first one in the school and I filmed the school. I was like, just, and I'm pretty sure a bell rang while I was middle of Randy. So if they have any doubts.
So the start date is June 6th, which is already passed. End date is Thursday, June 13th at 5 p.m. Pacific time or 8 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you get those workouts in. Some of you already have. Good luck, and we hope to see you all next week to know who is the fittest where. John Wooley. John Wooley lost his Instagram account. 500,000 followers.
It's crazy.
So insane.
What happened? Lex told me that, and I didn't know what happened.
So I don't even really know. It just got, and he said it's not coming back. I talked to him at Syndicate Crown. It's not coming back. And he started a new page, and it's had a couple names, but he settled on Wooley Memeth.
Yeah.
Is the new page. But he does want to kind of change the structure of it, not just be a meme page, but some other stuff that he has a passion for or an interest in. But he's already, like, he's got tens of thousands of followers already back to it. He posted something that was copyrighted by MTV. Wow. That is crazy.
And they don't just make him delete that post?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was on Glinton Things. I did not catch that episode yet. But I'll try to catch that. Or I'll just reach out to him. He's been on with me on a couple different things when I used to do the music show, and he's done a couple interviews when we've been at events together. So I'll check out what happened. Maybe it wasn't his first time doing it.
Yeah, it says that he already had 2 previous strikes.
Yeah. So there's that. But it sounds like he's in a really good headspace with it, because he did want to kind of change all what he's doing, and he wanted to talk about different things than just memes. So it allows him to kind of change that up and move in a different direction. And he seems to be cool with that. So now we're going to talk about the CrossFit Games coming up a little bit. And I teased this on my IG Live before we jumped on here, but I'm going to show something first. I did a poll question on YouTube today, and it was at the 2024 CrossFit Games, who do you pick to win the women's title, Tia-Clair Toomey or the field? And 88% of you all said tia-clair Toomey, with 12% saying the field. So I'm going to ask you guys first. Surprised by the results of this?
No, not at all.
I'm actually surprised 12% said the field.
Yeah, I guess. When I voted earlier, I think it was like 93-7. And that was like right about what I would expect to see.
Well, I am one person that is picking the field.
Of course you are.
And I've this is not new. I've been saying this for months. And when I do my spin poll, I put Emma Lawson number 1. I actually, in the spin poll 2 times ago, I went Emma Lawson, Laura Horvat, then tia-clair Toomey. The last spin poll, I went Emma Lawson, tia-clair Toomey, Laura Horvat. I feel like what she is doing is amazing, and she is a phenomenal athlete, and that if everything is perfect, she will do amazing things and probably win. But this is a lot. It's been 2 years since she's been on the floor. She has to crank up the volume. She has to get that body ready for another run at this. Anything can happen. Everybody thought Mike Tyson was unbeatable until Buster Douglas beat him. Everybody thought that Georgetown couldn't be beat with Patrick Ewing, and NC State beat them in the NCAA finals. Upsets happen all the time in sports. And for everybody to talk about this like it's an absolute, I think is insane. Just as much as you guys are yelling that I'm insane in the chat, that I'm on crack, and all of those things, I think it's insane to think in sports, period, there are absolutes.
Other than, I can respect the, hey, this is a sport and things can happen, just like Roman. Like, barring a sickness, an actual injury in something at the games, she will run away with it. Like, if you're just saying she needs to get back in shape, she needs to get her body back ready from the baby, you are on crack.
I don't think she has to get her baby or body back after the baby. No.
That's what you just said. She's still got to like retrain her body to get
every
I'll
athlete
take
now
Tia's
is
body
going
from
to-
when she had the pregnancy. She had a better body than I did.
Every athlete is cranking up their volume at this point. Every athlete is going to another level for games training. It is another stressor on the body, is what I'm saying. And for years, everybody has told me that I put too much credence on the results of semifinals when I look at my games predictions. And now, because Tia did what she did, everybody's jumping on that Tia is going to win the games. Absolutely.
I agree with Jamie. Barring any injury, fluke injury or something prior to the games, sickness, someone,
food poisoning, something.
yeah.
Like,
it looks pretty strong. But
yeah,
it doesn't take, like, I still think it's going to be close between, Laura is never to be counted out. Laura's been the second best to Tia for the last few years while she was in the field. And it takes nothing away from Laura's win last year. She was awesome. But I think with Tia in the field, with that many events, if she's healthy and everything, I would expect her to win. Can she lose? Yes. Anyone can lose. Like you said, right? It's sports. That's why we play the game. She can lose. Do I think? No. Can it happen? Yes.
Okay, let me ask you this. Last time she competed at the games, she was not the dominant Tia she was in years past.
She was not healthy too. That's what I was saying. Like, if she's healthy,
she still won. Not even healthy.
But the competition is much better this year than they were in years past. You're telling me 2 years older, she's going to be fitter than she was 2 years ago?
Yes. I am.
Now she can defy age.
Yeah.
But I do agree with your point with like Lawson is going to be there in the mix. She's very consistent. There's not many holes that she has. So she is going to stay relevant the whole weekend. Laura, we know the one hole that she can have, but she can win multiple events. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think a lot of the events that Emma would win, Tia excels at the similar things. A lot of stuff that Laura would win, neither Emma or Tia like win those, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like I think Emma is like a mini Tia, like a younger version, future version possibly of Tia. Although like can't count out Kazan. Raptis is looking great. There's plenty of
Gabby.
great women. Yeah, Gabby, Danielle. If Brooke's back in the field now. Haley.
There's a lot of people who could middle. If she slips up here, slips up there, then that weren't there in the past. Just saying.
Yeah, and like that's what the men's side needed when Matt was in the field, right? Like there was no one, like Matt would win by, whatever, or he'd take second, but there was no one taking middle.
It happened with Justin. Pat couldn't get enough people to middle.
Yeah.
But this is taking nothing away from Tia. I think she is amazing. She is the greatest CrossFitter to ever do this sport. Male, female, period. I hate when people talk about winning in an absolute sense. That's it.
Well, nothing's absolute, but
Everybody's talking like it's an absolute.
It's because it
Everybody.
pretty much is, and it's annoying. Like, we just don't even want to deal with her anymore.
see, I like watching like a champion just to see what the bar is, like a possibility. Like I know some people are annoyed that she wins. I'm not. She's made the women's field much better. Like she's pushed the women's field better than anyone else has ever been able to do.
Tristan, there's a difference between smart money and an absolute. An absolute. All week long, all I've heard is it's over. Might as well not even have the competition.
Well, we're having
when we first got on, but Carolyne, when you first came on before we went live, you said to me, that's why they play the game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's why you play sports. You don't know what's going to happen. People get hurt. People, start having bad events, and then mentally they are out of it.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like what she did at Syndicate was amazing, and she dominated that field. But there were a lot of really good people not there. Like we talked about the East being deep, but like Laura wasn't there, and Gabby wasn't there, and Alex Kazan wasn't there.
And Ariel.
Those are all people that can get.
Domit looked great in the West too.
But like Alex is a home run hitter. She can actually go toe to toe in stuff that Tia's not good at.
Like what?
Just like Laura, Tia was in the field at Rogue and Alex won 2 events. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, okay.
But like, I don't think Tia's far behind on any of the events from Gazan winning or someone else. The only thing that I think Tia gets a little bit behind is that there's like a major power output event on a machine or something where there's no way she's matching someone like Laura Horvath that's just going to dominate certain stuff. But she's so well-rounded. Her Olympic lifting is great. Even like her raw strength is great. Like there's no holes. There's no major holes. And if she has a bad event, it's an 11th place. it's everyone else is going to get something outside the top 15, but she just doesn't.
But she did last time she was on the games floor.
On a single under.
Okay.
I beat her.
It happened. That's all I'm saying. It happened.
I beat her on a skipping one.
Wad Zombie says, but I guess everyone's saying it's an absolute is what makes the upset so great. So, all right. People make mistakes also in workouts. Like they just make mistakes sometimes.
For sure.
All right. Kenneth says, might not even watch the games. No Colton, no Taylor Self, no Prevos. All right. Next thing is Roman's statement about taking third with one leg. People better be scared or afraid now that he has two. Thoughts?
I don't think people are afraid.
I don't either.
I don't either.
I think there's a lot of men that are confident right now in this field. A lot of them that feel that it's wide open to win. Which is crazy because Jeff is, the champion. He is going to do well, but I think there's a lot of guys that are confident and can do it.
You know what I think is hilarious is after the games last year, Roman said Jeff talked too much trash and was unsportsmanlike.
Yeah.
Who was the only one not talking trash at Syndicate Crown?
Roman.
No, Jeff.
Yes. I felt Roman was constantly talking trash at Syndicate.
Dallin was talking
Every
trash.
event.
Roman was talking trash.
Yeah.
Hopper. They're all talking trash. And there's Jeff just quietly doing his thing.
Yeah.
Now that's an absolute. Adler's winning the games. I'm just kidding. Nothing's an absolute.
I just think the men's field is so exciting. Like there's so many good guys. Like this is by far the deepest field of men that we've ever seen, I think.
One small
Of legit chances to win. Like you got 7 or 8 guys that are
one small trip up and you could fall 8 spots quick.
Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be some middling there. There's a lot.
Tons. The men's field's crazy good this year.
As much as I want Vellner to do well and always root for him, I feel like this is going to be his worst shot because he always has a mistake and you cannot have those mistakes in this field.
Either you can't have one or everybody's got to have one.
Yeah, and that's not happening.
Because Medeiros looks better. And he's back to just don't make a mistake. Wad Zombie said Medeiros is going to win. Been saying it all year.
That would be a great comeback story, though.
Especially with this group at the top.
Yeah.
For him to pull it off again.
I'd be happy for him.
I think this is a great discussion. I hope CrossFit uses Rogue's live stream format for the games. It was so good. That was like the best thing to come out of 2023. Being able to pick the screen you wanted to watch. It was like being there live.
Yeah.
Damien asks, will we have a better guest after the first event? Depends on what the first event is.
Yeah.
I mean, because if it's a big run, then that's going to favor those who run well.
Jeff.
Yeah.
So impressive how much that he's transformed as an athlete. Like he's so strong and the way his aerobic capacity has developed over the last few years has been so impressive.
It is. Because he was really just a strong guy, and then he's now turned into like the engine guy with strength.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have any major holes too. That we know of.
Everybody's talking about the Rogue live stream. They won't. If they charged like Rogue did,
What was it?
My
25
month.
bucks? 20
It's
bucks?
25 bucks for the weekend. Well worth it, in my opinion. If you're a CrossFit nerd, that was the best 25 bucks you could spend.
I didn't end up watching it. I just donated 25 bucks. I just wanted to make sure that I supported so that they could keep doing it for other events. Because I was there, so I was like, I don't really need the live feed, but I just paid the 25 just to.
Yeah, and the like the Manning cast version they had with Pat Sherwood was great. So you could get two different perspectives, switch from one to the other. It was awesome.
Yeah, they brought in a lot of people.
Yeah, Pat hosted the whole thing, and then they bring in like Josh, Rich, Annie, Katrin, Annie Sakamoto. They brought it. They even brought in Strongman during the CrossFit, which was interesting. Damien says he's cheap, only $4.99. Watch it once and you'll get sucked in. So the next question someone put in here was early predictions. Who will be rookie of the year? So my first answer to this, because I didn't put this one in here, we have no freaking idea who will be rookie of the year because there's no criteria. It's just whoever they pick at the end of the weekend. So, but there are 8 rookie men and 12 rookie women, and they include Callum Clements, Victor Hoffer, Ivan Kukartsev, Harry Lightfoot, Chris Ibarra, Peter Ellis, Ruan Potgeider, Austin Hatfield. Then on the women, Gemma Rader, Andrea Pinheiro. I put question marks because she went in the Masters. This is her first time elite. Lexi Neely, Georgia Pryor, Gracie Walton, Daisy McDonald, Hattie Canyo, Kyra Milligan, Amy Kringle, Linda Kiesman.
Are you missing Jack Rosema?
Yeah, that's who I picked, actually.
I am. Jack Rosema.
Because I was going to say Austin Hatfield wasn't the highest finished rookie, I don't think, in the East. It was Jack Rosema.
Let me add that to the mix here. I picked Jack as my dark horse to make the games, and so I just assumed he wasn't a rookie because I already had him there. There we go. So thoughts?
I'm intrigued by Chris Rivera. I think
If they go gymnastics heavy, I think that's a huge advantage for him. More than because he's great at gymnastics.
I don't know enough about him, but I was expecting him to have a fallout in the West, and he just never did. Like, he was always just there, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's worked hard on his strength because when I talked to him 2 years ago in our semifinal series, like he was super confident at the his gymnastics ability, but was not in his strength. So he's come a long way with that. So we have a lot of Hatfields.
I do like the Jack Rosema pick, though.
That's who I picked.
Especially with the confidence that he had when he did that interview with you, and he's like, no, I'm coming to podium at the East, and I'm going to go, top 15 at the games. I was like, okay, so you're very, confident in where you're at this year. And he was the highest, I think, finishing rookie in the East. And I don't know how he is with like odd objects and stuff like that, because we didn't test any of that at semifinals, but that'll be interesting to see.
Larry Young, $4.99. Gracie Walton, Rookie of the Year.
That's who I picked for women.
Damian Fink, Austin or Gracie. Dex, also, who's men's 35 to 39 Rookie of the Year? Are you saying someone that came in 40th? Just under the cut line is going to be Rookie of the Year, Dex? Gracie or Hatfield from Chelsea Miller. I think this is in reference to Jack. Rumor is he has a new strength coach. I wonder if Larry Young has some inside information.
Claudia Gluck has been looking good. She could do well.
I know that nobody knows who this person is, but Hattie Canyo is really well-rounded.
It's a good pick.
And looking at the women, she's my pick for the women's side.
It's a great pick.
On the men's side, I think nobody's saying Victor Hoffer. I know he has some strength deficiencies, but he's really good at a lot of things.
He moves very well.
And he's
Great
going to win
mobility.
some events.
His running isn't that great. And his raw strength probably is a little bit on the lower side compared to some of the bigger boys in the field. But his gymnastics, he can win, a couple events if it's very, very strong, like gymnastic base.
When you're going to get at least one of those at the games, right? He's really good upper body pulling.
Yep.
So there's usually something like that there. Like, I think he's going to have a couple really high finishes that'll give him a few hundred points, that then it's just, can he do well the rest of the way?
I think you gotta take your mind out of past games, and like I don't think you're gonna get the games of past. I don't think you're gonna get a bunch of running events. I think it's gonna be the machine games, and you're gonna see Dalen and Hopper and Fikowski excel. I don't think someone like Hoffer has as great of a shot.
It's still way more events than the stages we've seen. And I still think you're going to get a gymnastics heavy event. There's more monostructural at the games because you can do that.
Yeah, when you're outside. Think about the Coliseum. Maybe for one event. Just take all the Coliseum programming and extrapolate that.
Negative, Nancy. They're going to go outside for more than one event.
Swim. They're going to swim.
I love the idea of a Friday Night Lights. Texas is known for Friday Night Lights. Go get a high school football field.
Not going to happen.
Going to happen.
They are spending all this money to move to that stadium. That's where they're going to put their energy. They're not going to find other venues and put time and money into making another. They want everyone at that venue for their vendors. They are not going outside of that.
Well, the vendors aren't in the venue. The vendors are down the street.
Yeah.
Like they'll do some sort of running. It'll just be probably in the morning.
See?
It'll just be interesting how big that venue is. If they can put a turf area, like can they do the flips, like, or some sleds? Like Boz loves sleds, whether it's sled pull, sled push. I mean, we saw that on the rubber floor. I guess they can still do that there. It was in the Coliseum.
Dex used to live in Fort Worth. Fort Worth has some pretty interesting options for outdoor venues. Trinity Trail, TCU football stadium. Listen, they made those people run in 118 degrees in Vegas that year for the West Coast Classic. Yeah, some people dropped over, but the show went on.
I'm not saying they won't go outside and run one event. I actually do think they'll take them outside. If that Trinity Trail is close to that venue and able to step outside, I can see it happening. But I don't see them paying to go to an entirely different venue and set up an entirely different venue.
They don't need to put a rig and stuff up. You can do an outdoor event without a ton of equipment. It's freaking CrossFit. Take some sandbags.
They could still go outside and do something and come back in like they did for the semifinals or what they did at the games.
And that Vegas run was in a hot parking lot, right? Yes, it was. and Bethany Flores beat about all but one of the men on that run. Sarah says only offsite will be a swim.
No, I don't agree with that. I think they'll have more.
Football stadium is a 20-minute walk away from the arena.
I don't think they have the funding to reserve a pool and a football stadium and the venue. If he dies.
He dies. Rocky IV reference.
Favorite movie.
Deck says TCU would be so easy to get cost site for. Ton of health initiatives with them. There we go. All right. So final rookie of the year, now that we've totally went off the rails, I'm going to go with, I hate going with Rosema because you already picked him. So I'm going to go Victor Hoffer and Hattie Canio.
I have Rosema and Grace Walton.
I'll try to pick someone else from you guys. So, Victor. I'll go Chris Ibarra and Amy Kringle.
Good picks.
Amy Kringle was probably my number 2. And none of us picked Austin Hatfield. We'll let that other show do that. All right. Question here, CrossFit being sold. So I don't know. I'm guessing either Lex or Carolyn put this in here.
I think it was Lex.
And when Peter was doing Beyond the Whiteboard last week, maybe it was a week and a half ago now, Mads Jacobs was on, said that Don Fall was at an event in Europe where he told the affiliate owners that they were preparing to sell CrossFit. CrossFit came out, said that isn't exactly what was said, that because they are owned by an equity firm, that is always, you're always kind of gearing up for the sale. But there's no plans for that in the next 2 years. So I don't even think it matters anymore. Like, now that you're already with a private equity firm, like it doesn't get any worse than this, right? It's either going to go back to a private company or it's going to be a private equity firm, and it's just going to change hands. And none of those people are going to directly run CrossFit. They're just going to do it as an investment, or some private company is going to buy it and then want to do something. And that might be a good thing. So either way, I don't think it really matters anymore. Once Greg sold it, it changed how it was owned, changed the structure, and we're never going back to that. So at this point, it's either going to be swallowed up by a bigger company like UFC and Dana White's big, it's now WWE, UFC, and I don't even know what the bigger company is called, but they own all that stuff. So anyway, there's that. And then we're just going to finish up with what's next for the show. So we are starting our Games Athlete Series. We started that with Hattie Canio on Friday night. Had a great conversation with her. In case you haven't heard of her, she is a qualifier out of the North America West, and headed to the games.
Hasn't been on many shows.
No. She made her 15th appearance on our show on Friday night. But, nobody knew. So, but we have 2 people locked up for this week already. Both on Thursday, back to back. Tough day for this dude. Thursday at noon, we have Alex Kazan.
Nice.
Followed by Thursday at 1 Eastern time, James Sprague. So a nice back-to-backer on Thursday should be a fun 2 hours of conversation. We'll talk to them about semifinals, going back to the games for third and second time and what that means to them and all of that stuff. So, yeah, have that coming up. Someone tell Savon that it's Can-Yo.
What does he say?
It's not that. Can-Yo.
Kanyo?
So I don't know. So, yes, Kenneth, we have James Sprague. I've only ever had James on one time, and it was with the whole Brute crew. I did an interview with Dallin, James, Emma. It was when they were just it was all the teens. Now James dominated that whole conversation, but it's the only time I've had him on, and super stoked that he's coming back on to do that. So that's going to be fun. The last thing is going to be kind of a plea. And that is, I think we cover the Masters group as well as any other media company in the space, other than like the Masters themselves, like with Masters Chatter, all of that stuff. I don't want to take anything away from them. But of the more overarching media companies, I think we cover the Masters as well as anybody. We are trying. I've put in the request to go do a behind the scenes of the Masters CrossFit Games. I have put together a team to come do that with me because Jamie will be a little busy that weekend. I don't want to bother her with any of that stuff, but I've put together a team that if we get that from Legends or CrossFit, that we'll be able to come in, talk to you all behind the scenes, highlight all the awesome stuff that the Masters do. And very much like the other behind the scenes that you see, just we'll do it with the Masters community. I put that request in. I've heard nothing. So if you are a Masters athlete or someone that wants to know more about the Masters athletes and you want this to happen, please let the Legends people know, let CrossFit know that we want to do this. And I've got a really cool team put together. It also helps that a lot of my friends are competing. And I want to be there to support them. And now I have a frog in my throat. So with that, I am making the plea to please let me cover this. Because people are going to want to jump in on the fact that it's the games. When we went to Legends last year, we were the only company there.
Yep.
The only company at Legends.
Will they have a live stream?
They are.
Okay.
The teens and the Masters are both having a live stream. The heads of both companies were told that was going to help their live streams to be on this at the same time during the weekend. Not sure I buy that.
What?
Yeah.
It's totally going to distract from one or the other. They're not on the same channel, right? There's two
Well, I think they're both going to be on YouTube or...
Right, but not on one channel. There's going to be a teens channel so you have to go to one or the other.
Yep.
Split your viewing. Wow.
So I'm putting out the plea to our listeners and our Masters lovers that if you want us to cover this, people who know these athletes, who have interviewed these athletes, who know the backstories before we even get there on a lot of these athletes, please let us cover this. Please. And I bring with me the greatest stats and information person ever, who puts out leaderboards nonstop, of everything that's going on through the weekend, charts and graphs and interesting numbers and facts and figures all weekend long. You get that too. And when we were at Legends and Holly was doing all that for us, I don't know how many athletes came up to me and say, thank you so much. What she does, I can share with my family. I can share on social media so people know how I'm doing during this weekend. And a lot of competitions don't do that. And it's hard to like screen grab the leaderboard where it makes sense to people.
Yeah.
So we want to do a really freaking cool job with this. And we want to do it in a way where everybody is highlighted.
Do you have sponsors to help you for the trip?
Not yet, but I'll fund it myself. I have committed more to this than I am to the regular games.
Let's help Scott get to the Masters Games.
Masters Lover. Well, I just got a new label.
Awesome. Is the competition Friday to Sunday for the Masters, or is it 4 days or 3 days? Do you have any information?
I don't know.
Is it, say what?
Is it a 3-day event? Is it a 4-day event? Do you
4.
have any information on that?
Thursday through Sunday.
Okay, so 4 days of continuous, no rest day.
Denise,
my
Thursday
understanding, no
through
rest day.
Sunday. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Denise, that you got that correct. I put in the request with Joe Linton from Legends by text because him and I have texted since last Legends. I put in that request. I have not heard back. Okay.
I'm hoping we get check-in information sooner rather than later. I need to decide when I'm getting there, and if it's this age group has to be there at this time. Like, I need to know that.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron, we need to know that. We're probably driving, and it's 11 hours. I need to know if I need to leave at 2 a.m.
All right, Ken, this is the last thing I'm taking. ThiccBoi Tour. I'm taking this because ThiccBoi is the best. He has sponsored us all at certain times. ThiccBoi Tour is, Mark is the owner of ThiccBoi, is one of the hardest working men in the business. And every weekend he travels to events. And he sets up his booth and he sells his wares. And he just loves supporting and meeting athletes. Just loves it. And so over like the next 8 weeks, I think he is at an event every weekend for the next 8 weeks, all the way to the end of July.
Correct.
Yeah, huge thank you to Mark and ThiccBoi. Huge thank you.
And he does this not to the big events. He does this to like the mid majors and those where those comps need his help, need him to be there. And he's there supporting them. So he does so much for the community. If he has an event near you, go check him out. Most of these events are free that are being held. You can just walk in, watch some CrossFit, check out his apparel, meet Mark. He's a really cool guy, and hang out with him. And I'm going to try to get to at least one of the spots to do some interviews in his booth. If I can swing it, I'm going to try to go to Metcon Rush. Because it's near Pennsylvania, and I could probably like swing by my mom's house, then down there for a day, and then back up to my mom, and then back to Ohio. So I think I'm going to try that. And don't forget, we're going to be at Fresh Coast out there on Lake Michigan. For anybody who wants to head to the beach in the summer in, what's the name of the town again?
Muskegon,
Michigan. Awesome. So, Denise is telling you all of her travel agenda there, Jamie.
All right. Yeah, I will not be getting there Tuesday night. That's not possible for me.
So with that, thank you to everybody in chat. You guys are freaking awesome. Love
Like,
hanging out with you.
subscribe. all of that.
Hit the notifier so you know when your episode's on and it alerts you that it's coming. With that, don't forget, check us out. Roundtable Tuesday and the 2 interviews on Thursday so far this week. Still work. I have commitments from others, just don't have times yet. So that's why you hit that notifier. Because when I do set it up, you'll be notified of when it's coming and you'll be able to jump in for those interviews. With that, we will see you all next time on the Sunday night CrossFit Talk, the original. Bye, guys.